Welcome to Trance Encounter Podcast. This is where I share with you interesting and reasonably deep conversations I had with my friends, and sometimes we go even deeper into the subconscious. My name is Lester, I'm a hypnotist. I like talking to people and I don't mind skipping the small talk. So let's begin. In this episode today, I had the pleasure of sitting down having a conversation with a fellow hypnotist, Vinnie Brigance. Vinnie and I met because of the miracle of technology. We were both creating videos on TikTok on hypnosis, helping people make changes and so on and so forth. And Vinnie reached out to me asking, hey, have you heard of this conference called Hypnotists Live? And I was like, no, but I looked into it. It looked amazing. It's very much like a summer camp for hypnotists, for people to share their work, hanging out and so on and so forth. So I decided to go. And this is where Vinnie and I met for the first time in person. And this is also where this following conversation you're about to hear was filmed. And it's quite interesting when you think about it, how we encounter people and circumstances spontaneously in life. And these spontaneous encounters lead to more connections, opportunities to learn more about ourselves and create meaning together with other people just to make life more fun. And this following conversation you're about to hear is an excellent example of that. So I really hope that you enjoy it as much as we did. And thank you very much, Vinnie, for texting me, introducing me to the conference and sharing all your time, effort and support. Really appreciate it. Now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen and everyone else, Vinnie Brigance.
What's interesting, the way I work now with people, I care so little about hypnotic phenomena. I've had entire sessions where people don't close their eyes.
Wow.
But if we get the result, that's what I'm here for. And I never want to judge their experience because I can't see inside their body. So they might be just very stoic in their expression. They might just have a good poker face, but their internal reality could be shifting really intensely. One insight, one thing they hadn't thought about just like that before, and suddenly quitting smoking or whatever the challenge is they're dealing with looks differently to them. They gain leverage over it, or it can just, the intensity of the problem can kind of melt away. Yeah. And so this is something I've really had to work on, not bringing what I think a session needed to look like into it, or my expectations for what a client needed to experience to look a certain way.
Exactly.
I had to learn to back off that.
Sometimes just simply one metaphor or one sentence said at the right time, it makes the whole difference. Right. The work is done that way.
That reminds me of my fastest session was around 17 minutes.
All right.
And I did not believe the person. The whole time I was like, I didn't feel like we were getting anywhere. And I just asked him a really simple question like, well, what happens about quitting smoking when you think about making your wife happy? Because that's what he really wanted to do. And he was like, he's a weird, awkward laugh. And I just sat there quietly, like, I don't know what this is, right? And he goes, that's it, I'm not doing it. He said it with like a lot of affirmation and firmness. And I was like, not doing what? It's like, I'm not smoking anymore. I'm like, I don't believe you. I like literally said that to him. And I'm like, how? He's like, dude, it's just not worth it. I want to make my wife happy. And you could, but the way the emotions came up. And you could hear there was a different quality to the tone in his voice. I checked in 6 months later and about a year and a half later, and he hasn't smoked. And I was kind of blown away by that. So I never really know going into a session. Like you said, it could be a metaphor. There could be that one thing that does the work.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's going to be, but the unconscious mind will tell you.
That's very true. And it's like part of it is also, we mentioned metaphors and the stories. And the story of our own life and everything. And I literally heard this from you 10 minutes ago.
Oh, really?
Like the reason why you started doing hypnosis.
Yeah. You want me to talk a little bit about that?
Please. Yeah. It's such an incredible story.
So I wasn't particularly interested in hypnosis. I had all the same beliefs that I think normal culture and mainstream people have, folks that aren't in the industry. But my mom passed away from smoking-related causes. She was only 53 and a half years old. She never got to meet my son. And
that must be heartbreaking.
it was really tough. And we were really working on building a special relationship. We had some kind of unique circumstances between us. But we don't have that opportunity now because she's dead, right? And I remember seeing her in the hospital, tube down her throat, keeping her alive, and seeing her recover from it. The hospital did an absolutely fantastic job. She was in long-term acute care. One of my cousins was a nurse at the hospital, which was beautiful. So he was there, really,
Right.
giving her all the attention she needed. And she gets a second chance at this thing, and I find out she was keeping it from us. She went back to smoking. And then 6 months later, she was dead. And I thought, oh, how could something like that happen? I saw all these beautiful, she had my 2 daughters, beautiful grandchildren. This really had a hold of her. I didn't mention this. Conversely, my father smoked 4 packs a day. He quit smoking. He saw what she went through. He made a different choice.
Wow.
And I asked him about it. I said, what was that like? And he said, well, I went home and I had some cigarettes and I thought, yeah, I'll finish these, then I'll be done. And then he said, that's a trap. I'm just throwing them out now, I'm done.
Okay.
I thought, well, hell, and what was it like? Oh, my hands felt funny. He said, that was like that, because he's tough. He's very tough. So yeah, my hands felt kind of funny. So then I did some research and found out, eventually, a couple years later, I decided to make a difference in that area. I felt a bit compelled to do so, and I didn't want to go be a doctor. And from what I could see, nicotine replacement therapy and the medications are just not as effective, according to the peer-reviewed studies I came across, as hypnosis for smoking cessation. Not to say that those things aren't right for some people.
Right.
However they quit is the good way to quit. I don't judge that.
So basically, you looked into different ways to help people quit smoking after what happened to your mom.
Again, and just because I didn't really care about hypnosis. That wasn't what I got into it for.
Right.
And then I found out about this conference through Mike Mandel's group, and I said, I remember talking to my wife and saying, hey, honey, I think I need to go to this thing, but we got twin baby girls, so I don't know how.
And this was back in 2019?
Yeah,
I
that's
see.
right. And she said, man, there's never going to be a good time. Book the flight and go. I believe in you.
Man,
so I did it. Yeah, it's really
that's
intense.
Beautiful. That's
Try to
beautiful.
keep those
the
emotions
support.
under control. Yeah.
Well, you don't have to, but just
It's a nice thing.
That's beautiful how much support you receive
Yeah.
from your wife.
That's a really cool thing to have. And so I come here, HypnoThoughts Live. I don't know anybody. And what a place to be if you don't know anybody. It's like if you're here, you're a hypnotist, they accept you, they bring you in.
Right.
I
I think that's a really good point, because a lot of times when people look at the industry from outside in, they think about hypnotists as in a lot of the characters they saw on TV,
That's right.
the old school authoritarians speaking in a monotone,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. But these days, when you actually get into it and meet people, everybody's nice.
Yeah.
Well, not everybody's nice, I guess, but most people are very
most people
nice.
are pretty nice, yeah.
And this is just, I guess, what we do, as in different people will stumble upon this path for different reasons. For me, it was looking for something to help myself. For
That's
you,
cool.
is looking for how to help people quit smoking because of what happened in your family. It's just all these different paths, and how we come together. And it's just quite incredible.
I do find that really cool. And one thing you mentioned there that I think is extremely powerful, I don't know what it was like during the strictly authoritarian approach, but I feel like the more human I am, the more I work on my own problems and challenges, the more vulnerable and willing I am to look at those things or even reach out to our community and get help with things. That's actually improved my skill as a practitioner. I don't want to say more than anything, but it's a big amplifier for me.
I think you're absolutely right, because before being a hypnotist, you were human first.
Yeah.
I like the attitude, you don't care so much about hypnosis, because it's very much just, it's a vehicle, it's a method to deliver help to people. And it's not the only one, but it's the one that I guess we resonate with.
Yeah, for sure. It's what I feel most comfortable working, using with clients. But I think now I've definitely grown a bit of an affinity for the people, the industry, and the modality. But if I did find something better, I would use that. Like that's, because for me, it's the mission is the thing.
What's hypnotic protocol or move that you like making these days currently?
So I don't really use protocols or inductions or pre-talks techniques anymore. I just start to explore the problem with the client. And so that can look, it takes a bunch of different shapes. But what I find to be most effective is making sure that client is incredibly clear that quitting smoking is their job.
And how do you help them making that clear?
I will tell them I can't quit smoking for you.
Right.
But that's great news, you can. I see this happen all the time. You have the power within you. It doesn't even matter if it doesn't feel like that right now.
I love
We're going to
that.
find it.
I love that.
It's that type of approach, and I call it setting my cards on the table. Like I don't have any tricks. I'm not the Wizard of Oz. We're both the wizard, right? And our job is to find the magic. And so I kind of approach it in a very, I think it's more of a cooperative approach.
It's like a co-creation.
Yeah. But the expectation that I have, and they know this in my marketing, they know this in my sales calls, like they're going to be doing the work. They are paying me a lot of money to help them, but it's to help them figure it out. And I just, when I set the parameters like that, there's less, it's great. I think it forces a different series of resources to come to the fore now, because it's not he's quitting for me, he's going to say words at me and then I magically feel a certain way. And that can work. I have friends that work that way. So I'm not, this is not to criticize that. I want to be clear.
Right.
This is what
it's the method that works best for you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, last question, and this is what I enjoy asking the most. One of the most enjoyable questions every time I meet someone doing hypnosis. What is hypnosis?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I have thought about that off and on. I like what Freddie Joaquin said. It's a natural phenomena. But I feel like that just doesn't have much shape to it. You know, I agree with him 100%, but I feel like I have more questions about that than answers, having helped over 700 people quit.
If you were to come up with a working theory of what it is,
I like that.
What would it be?
I think about hypnosis as a tool to help people learn very quickly.
I like that.
I feel like that's a very accurate way for me to put it based off my experience.
Right. And it's not just any learning.
Right. It's very accelerated. It's very deep and emotional. It's powerful learning.
It's personal, and it also changes the way, I guess, you see the world or the way you see certain behaviors or beliefs.
You think about the moment in human history, the first time everybody sat down and listened to one person talk. That must have been a hell of a moment. You know, you're out there hunting, gathering, who knows what stage in human evolution this happened. Now we're sitting here and we're all listening to one person talk. That's a very powerful moment.
Especially if you're sitting around a bonfire.
Yeah.
Stars above.
Right.
Yeah.
You can kind of paint the picture there, right? And there's a million things to distract you. Is that a bear? Is that a wolf? Oh, I gotta pick more berries tomorrow, right? Different things in your mind. But we're deciding to give somebody our attention.
Right.
And then someone else speaks, and now we're listening to that person. So this sort of cooperative dynamic. I find thinking about this sometimes, I will spend some time considering, like, what were the elements that took place there? And so what I talk about is listening, exploring, becoming aware, discovery, and then space, right? Those are the 5 principles I use. But I do think it kind of sits under learning really well.
Right.
It's a learning, though, where when I'm working with a client, I'm really not, we talk about that intuitive voice. I'm listening to that and paying attention, but mostly it's just absorbing a lot of information from that client. And so in terms of hypnosis, I don't exactly know where it ends and where it starts, but I do think Freddie's right, it's a natural phenomena, because I'm not doing anything to try to create a trance.
Right.
Yet if I just go back to that metaphor of me sitting and listening to somebody, they'll go into trance.
Right, yeah.
Just having someone really listen to them.
Or
really
even
pay
just in
attention to 'em.
conversation, we can be
Yeah.
in kind of a light state of trance, of focus attention. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no
Thank
problem.
you, Vinnie.
Yeah.
As you heard in the conversation, Vinnie has helped more than 700 people quit smoking. So if you know anyone who needs help quitting smoking, or if you need any help quitting smoking, I recommend you to check out Vinnie's work. I'm putting all his links in the description of this video. And thank you for sharing this experience with us, listening to the conversation. I hope this gave you some food for thought and food for the unconscious. Until next time.